Hey everybody, Professor Cicerelli here. I've got a grammar video for you, and it is by popular demand, I guess you could say. There was a comment online in one of my Instagram posts about the difference between lay and lie and when to use them, when not to use them, how they're often confused, and in fact the person who was posting was talking about having, I don't know if he had corrected his boss, because that wouldn't be good uh, to correct your boss like that. But I think it was something where his boss had used the wrong form, where he had used lay when he should have used lie, or vice versa. And the person in the comments had noticed it and commented. So I thought I would explain to you the difference between these two verbs. They're often confused, even in good published writing, even in famous pop songs. I'm going to show you a Katy Perry lyric in a little bit, show you that she uses the wrong form. She uses the wrong verb. So the way to understand the difference between these two verbs is you have to understand that in English grammar there are two kinds of verbs. There are transitive verbs and there are intransitive verbs. What does this mean? Well, what this means is a transitive verb is a verb that attaches directly to its direct object. There is nothing, in fact, that's what makes it a direct object. There is no separation between that verb and the object itself, the object being a noun. So you've got your transitive verb plus that direct object. For example, I mean, if I were using the verb to buy, okay? To buy, now that I'm thinking about it, I think to buy is also always transitive. But when I use the verb to buy, I'm saying I bought something from someone else. So I bought is my verb, whatever I bought is my direct object, and then I bought it from someone, and it's followed by a preposition. A preposition is a word that comes before a noun, and it shows relationships between nouns in a sentence. And so when you have a transitive verb like to lay or to buy, like I just gave you the example in the sentence, that verb is always attached directly to its object. There is no separation between them. Now, intransitive verbs, when you see intransitive, just think, when you see the prefix in, just think not. Okay, so intransitive is not transitive. It means that that verb does not attach directly to an object. In fact, intransitive verbs do not have objects. Intransitive verbs, they're in the sentence, and they are then followed by a preposition. Prepositions, again, words, they show relationships between nouns. So in, on, under, those are all examples of prepositions. Okay. So a verb that you could say a verb that's acting intransitively would be something like to laugh. Okay. I could say I laughed at someone. Okay. Or you could just say I laughed. Okay. I laughed. That intransitive verb does not attach directly to an object, and in the case that I just gave you with I laughed, period, complete sentence, and there is not even a preposition following it. It's just simply on its own, I laughed. So understanding the difference between lay and lie means understanding the difference between transitive verbs and intransitive verb. Transitives always attach directly to an object. Intransitives do not. Okay, so knowing that, what I want to do is look at these two sample sentences that I have here on screen, and I don't want you to worry about or think about how you conjugate lay or lie, lay being the transitive, lie being the intransitive. So don't worry about how you conjugate them. I'm going to show you in a second how you conjugate them or put them into the past or present tense. So don't worry about that. All I want us to do is look at those two sample sentences and decide, do I need lay or do I need lie there? And use the sort of the guide I have on screen there above them. So let's look at that first sentence. Yesterday I blank, so lay or lie, down after a long day of work. Okay. So so what do I have? I have I is my subject. I have a blank, so I need to have a verb that I need to put in there. We're trying to figure out which one. And then I have down after. Okay. So I do not have in this space, I don't have an object. I don't have a noun there. Okay. So what does that tell you? What that tells you is whatever goes there, if it's correct, it's going to be an intransitive verb. Okay, because what follows is not an object. Okay. And it just so happens that lie is my intransitive. Okay, and you'll notice down is a preposition, after is also a preposition. Okay. So what we need here is lie. Don't worry yet about how we're going to conjugate it. I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, look at the second sentence. She is blank the books on the table. Okay, don't worry about how we conjugate. Do we need transitive? Do we need intransitive? We'll look, the blank is the space for our verb, and what follows that verb is an object. Okay, the books in this case. So what does it tell you? It tells you I need a transitive verb. I need a verb that attaches directly to an object, and then that object is followed by a preposition, which is what this tells me. So what I need is lay here. Okay. So, but even if you didn't know this was a lesson about lay and lie, you would know just by looking at this blank what I need in this spot is a transitive verb, one that can attach directly to the objects, which are the books. Okay. So now how do I conjugate lay and lie? And I think the reason that these two verbs are confused is because the conjugation is a little confusing. Okay. So let's look at the conjugation. This is the conjugation table for these two verbs. So to lay would be the one on top, and then to lie would be the one on the bottom. Okay. Now, maybe this is just speculation, but maybe the reason why this gets a little confusing for people is because when we talk about the verb to lie, the intransitive verb to lie, we also have that verb to lie also has another definition, which is not telling the truth. Okay, so we could mean lying down, but we could also mean not telling the truth, and we have to distinguish those in some way. Otherwise, we're going to really confuse people. And so, in order to do that, grammarians or someone at some point decided we have to come up with a different way of conjugating to lie when we're talking about someone telling a fib, and we have to also conjugate it a different way when we're talking about somebody putting their head down on a pillow. So here's the conjugation table. So in the present tense, to lay, if I'm talking about one person, he or she lays the book on the table, or they lay the books on the table. So that's why I have lay or lays in the present tense. In the past tense, it's laid. They laid the books on the table. And notice I don't have, in the past tense, the verb doesn't change if we're talking about one person or many people. So they laid the books on the table. Regardless, though, if it's past tense, it's transitive, and it's attaching directly to an object. They laid the books. So back to what we were talking about here. Laid the books directly attaches to that object. Okay. The present participle, which is the ing form of that verb, is laying. Okay. He was laying the books on the table. They were laying the books on the table. He or she is laying the books on the table. Same thing, but when I'm using lay as the present participle form, I'm using laying. Okay. And remember, if I'm using laying, it's still going to attach directly to its object. And I'm going to show you that Katy Perry lyric in a second where she messes up this the present participle. And then the past participle is laid. It looks exactly like the past tense. Very often the past participle and the past tense of the verb look exactly the same. Sometimes they're irregular, and I could, if you want a whole video on that, on past tenses and past participles that are irregular, leave me a comment down in the comment section, and I can make a video on that. So that's the conjugation table for the transitive verb to lay. Now, what about the verb to lie? Now, this is where it gets confusing, and this is why I told you I think these verbs are confused for exactly this reason, and you'll see immediately. Okay. So to lie, the intransitive verb to lie in the present tense is lies. One person lies, two people lie. Okay. So present tense, he lies down on the floor. They lie down on the floor. Okay. So we jump back here. Oh, not yet. Let's do the conjugation for the past tense. So present tense, he, she, singular, lies down. They lie down in the present. Now, past tense. This is where you're gonna shake your head and go, why did they whoever invented the rules here, why did they do it this way? If I'm talking about a fib, lying to somebody, in the past tense, that's I lied to them. Okay. But if we're talking about putting our head down, then to lie in the past tense is lay. Okay. And so one person yesterday lay down. Okay. So yesterday I lay down on the floor. So if we look at the conjugation, yesterday I lay down after a long day of work. So we said when we were looking at this screen before that we knew that I needed the verb to lie here because I've got a preposition right after it, right? So we knew that I needed the verb to lie. We didn't know how to conjugate it. Now we know how to conjugate it, and we know that yesterday I lay down after a long day of work. And it doesn't change, in the past tense, remember we said in the past tense, verbs, they don't change depending on the number of people. So I lay down, he, she lay down in the past tense, or they lay down, same thing. Okay, present participle, lying. She was lying down. He is lying down. They are lying down. Okay. Now the past participle. This is going to be one where you probably haven't heard this one before. But like I said, there are past tense and past participles sometimes look the same, but sometimes they are irregular. Generally that there are some that are irregular. And if I asked you about the verb to fly, you would know that the past tense of to fly is flew, but the past participle is flown. Those past participles that are irregular very often end with an N. I don't know why that is, but they very often do. And to lie, the intransitive verb to lie is no exception. Its past participle is irregular, and it also ends with an N, and it's lain. Okay? They had lain down. That sounds so strange because you probably are not used to hearing that. Okay? They had lain. She had lain. They had lain. Okay. So that's the difference between these two. Now let's look at Katy Perry's mistake. I don't know if it's her mistake, whoever wrote the song. So let's look at that. So let's look at her famous song, California Girls. This song came out a long time ago. And I wasn't sure if I could play the clip in the video, but you can play it on your own and listen to it. But she says, There must be something in the water, sipping gin and juice, laying underneath the palm trees, laying underneath the palm trees. So let's switch back to our, so let's look at that sentence. So underneath, okay, preposition, right? It's a preposition. The palm trees, object, it's a noun, it's an object, okay? And so what do we have? We have here the verb, preposition, okay, important, verb, preposition, then object. So what should that be? Let's go back to our, let's go back here. So which is the verb that has the verb plus the preposition? It's not to lay. Okay, to lay, remember, attaches directly to its object. Okay, that's the one she's using here. She's using to lay, and then she has the a preposition, and then she has the object. But we just said before that lay is always attached directly to an object. So if we go back to Katy Perry here, lay, if we're using it correctly, should be attached directly to an object. Do we have that here? No, we don't. Okay, what we have is the form of that verb the one that's intransitive. Okay, the intransitive one is to lie. So what should it be? What is she doing? She's using the present participle here, the ing. Okay, so we need the present participle that is also intransitive. Let me say that again. We need the present participle here that is also intransitive. Lie is the one that is intransitive because it's the one that has the preposition immediately following it. Okay, so it should be, so if we find out who wrote this song and we contact him or her and say, it should be, there must be something in the water, sipping gin and juice, lying underneath the palm trees, not laying underneath the palm trees. Okay, so that's just a useful, I hope a useful bit of advice on using to lay and to lie. If you found this video helpful, let me know. Give me a like, put a comment down below, subscribe also, that helps me out. And if you'd like more of these videos, if there are two words or a grammar term that a grammar usage that you often confuse and you want some clarification on it, leave me a comment. I'm happy to make a video on that. I always need ideas about what to make videos on. So if there's anything that you want me to do, just let me know and I'm happy to make that video. Thanks, everybody.